So hi everyone, I'm Nicola, I'm the representative of the French team and I've been working with at the Cher Effet at the La Villette Architecture School and along with Denis from AAA. And today I'm going to talk to you about the two places that we're doing our research in, which is Bagneaux and Saint-Denis. So the team is Atelier d'Architecture Autogéré, which is represented by Denis, and also the Cher Effet, which is a research centre, which means experiment, do, make and share, and it's based at the La Villette Architecture School in Paris, led by Denis, who's not here today, unfortunately, who's there on the yellow jumper. And so our questions and objectives of this research have been to how to increase resilience agency by helping a network of civic resilience emerge. And we've been doing this in two different contexts and at two different scales. So one at the city scale by setting up a platform, which we've called terreau, which means compost, through building upon a previously implemented catalyst and co-creating tools for its sustainability. So that's in Bagneaux. And the second scale is the neighbourhood scale by introducing a catalyst, a new project, which is called Ecolab in Saint-Denis. So Bagneaux is the context for consolidating and scaling up an existing network. It's 3 kilometres to the south of Paris. There's 40,000 inhabitants. It's a growing family town. It's the location of the urban Bagneaux, which includes the Agrocité that you can see in the picture here, which is a community-built eco-civic hub set up by AAA in 2016. And it's got an active network of association and civic organisations. And this network, which existed from a previous research project called ProShare, and the municipality and community are very active on socio-ecological issues. Then in Saint-Denis, it's about initiating a new network. Saint-Denis is about 100,000 inhabitants and it's in the north of Paris. There's lots of young people, there's many people from an immigrant background, lots of employees and workers, there's a high poverty rate, and the idea is this for the Ecolab to be a new urban educational hub in a school. So I'll start with the terreau network, and our question was, what role can a living lab play in building a platform to consolidate and scale up an existing network by developing a community of sharing and exchange of practices? So the lab, the role in Bagneaux is, so this réseau terreau, which means terreau network, is developing a platform for collaboration between existing and new partners. And the Connect Living Lab is built around that network. So it's an aggregator and it brings people and information together in order to simplify sharing. Then terreau, like I mentioned, it means compost or living soil. So it's a sort of allegory for a favourable environment for plants to grow in, but this is about making a terreau so there's a favourable environment for ideas to grow in towards ecological transition. The partners for the terreau are AAA and Urban, and the Cher Effet, which is us, the Plus Petit Cirque du Monde, which is shown in one of the drawings in this exhibition over here. Which is called the smallest circus in the world, which actually has a very big building, so that's no longer the case. Bagneaux Environnement, which is a sustainability organisation, the Lycée Avant Lycée, which is attached to the Plus Petit Cirque du Monde, and which is a project to develop a school before the school on the site of a school that will be built. Sourous, which is a theatre company, and then also the Bagneaux municipality. And the terreau, as defined by some of the participants, is an idea for action by a number of people on a larger scale that could open up to other towns. It's about adaptation, about creating tools, practical actions. It's about talking to communities and citizens, raising public awareness. It's also about encouraging citizen resilience and pooling interesting dynamics with alternative approaches. There's also an idea for working in a more cross-disciplinary and horizontal way and linking between institutional players. We've been making diagrams of this network, of the terreau network in Bagneaux, And so the different actors on this diagram are shown in different colours. So orange is academic, blue is a civic initiative, pink is a private organisation, and yellow is municipal. So it's about developing a network which helps solidarity with multiple audiences that you can see around the edge, and helps with continuous learning. And also you can see here on the right, you can't really see it, but on the right-hand side, the little yellow circle is the CLTE, which is a citizen council for ecological transition, which is actually at the municipality. They've sort of opened it up to the inhabitants of Bagneaux. So it was initially a selected out of a hat. And then they sort of developed different ways of pooling people together to make decisions towards ecological transition. So we've been doing interviews and visits, different initiatives. We were doing community mapping of ecological initiatives and then creating an interactive digital map for that, localizing the different typologies in different areas. We did a number of interviews with different people across municipality and facilitators, decision makers, and people who run associations. And we used a lot of co-design practices. So we developed workshops and meetings, and developed project ideas with the participants, and also co-designed tools for resilience, like a collective charter. So on the bottom right here, you can see that we developed a charter for the Terreau network, where we collectively edited it online and in person, all working together on a live document. We also use these sort of paper templates to do similar things in person. We put these tools that we co-developed on a website. So the website you can find online, it's bagneauxterreau.net, and other tools such as a shared calendar and the interactive map of actors and the common charter that you've seen before. We also developed a flyer which was drawn by one of the participants of the network, Julia, who runs the Lycée avant the Lycée. So our activities spanned 2023 and 2024. You can see that they're sort of spread over the years, with mapping and interviews happening across the timeline and punctuated by different events. The website, which happened a little bit later, following the charter, so we had somewhere to put it so that people could actually access it. So we did quite a number of workshops, with also meetings in blue with the municipality, which were really important points to sort of legitimise the work that we were doing. And then, as you can see here, the work is also continuing into the year, even though the Connect project finishes in June for us. We've also got events planned in June and also in October. So just to say that the Living Lab it's a small section of something that has a longer trajectory. So we're sort of researching an area which will then extend, and we need to pass on the baton. We've been looking at mediation, so this is one of our terms that we want to highlight, which we think is an important activity in a Living Lab and towards civic resilience. So it helps to facilitate collaboration between actors with a sequence of activities to initiate, design, facilitate, etc., making tools. It links to actor network theory, where Latour said that mediators can be transformative, they're not just passing on information. And we came up with our definition of the role of mediators is to initiate and continue co-design tools, facilitate collaboration, negotiate, maintain momentum, summarise and share transformative collective practices of engagement with local actors towards ecological transition. And we started to diagram out the relationships and the mediator roles within each network. So these are the terreau mediators here that you can see, where some people were particularly good at bringing others into the network. So those are sort of outreachers and connectors. And then others would meet new partners through this network. So, for example, the Lycée avant le Lycée met the CSC through this network and then began doing collaborative projects together. We, the article that Doina was mentioning earlier, looked at different mediator roles. So we think that in living labs towards civic resilience, these roles are really important. And so the first one is strategist, so someone who looks into the future but beyond the project. So it's this sort of looking beyond the living lab timeline and how it might evolve in the future. The catalyst is obviously the initiator of the project. Designers make these collaborative tools. Hosts provide space to meet and to act. Then these people who have two hats, which might work in the municipality and have their own organisation, for example, are really important negotiators who might mediate conflicts but also create connections to widen the network. And then there are, of course, obstructors who might slow down the action, and so we need these negotiators to help mitigate those risks. So that's the Terreau Réseau network. And the second living lab is based in Saint-Denis, and it's called Ecolab. 93 is the number for the department of Saint-Denis. And our question is, what role can a living lab play in catalysing a new network through co-designing an ecological hub with the La Courtille Middle School? So that's a secondary school. So the role of the lab in the school is to create an ecolab, which is an ecological demonstrator-like space. It's a kiosk, essentially, next to an existing vegetable garden in the La Courtille school premises. It's meant to be open to the public so that other people and associations can come and use that space out of school hours, so at the weekend or during the holidays, for example. And it's meant to be a space for collaboration and a part of the urban network. So it's a space for sharing, it brings people and information together, and importantly, this space has been co-designed with the La Courtille school and the students, more importantly. So the partners on this project are AAA, the middle school, the Saint-Denis Town Hall, the department, which is the council, a media library, a community centre, a primary school, which is the kids that will go to the middle school afterwards. So we're sort of spreading the reach a little bit, and then also a local audio association. We held interviews with a variety of these actors. And so we led workshops to co-design this ecolab space, beginning with mapping spaces frequented in the neighbourhood by the kids, designing ecological interventions in the school, then being more specific about the actual site for the ecolab, which was given to us, where you can see here in the picture that the kids are looking at different examples for ecological interventions like capturing water or green roofs and sort of architectural modularities. And finally, we co-designed an exhibition that is nomadic, so it moves in has different iterations, and it's in a fourth space now. We've also, in order to common boundaries more widely, we held events, so presenting the project. So you can see here at the top, it's the community centre where we continue with the mapping during these events. We had a stall in a neighbourhood fete. The students did a podcast with Radio Déclic, and of course this nomadic exhibition is used and is really important for building the network on a more passive scale. And it continues today with inviting, for example, workshops led by other actors, and this is landscape specialist Fada, who did an exploratory workshop on soil to start the engagement with the soil by the students themselves and be able to select seeds and start planting. So we're waiting for construction this year, and this is a bit blurry, but a representation of the design which the kids helped to co-design. So some of the emerging cooperations that we found in Bagneaux is that it are cooperations on a particular scale. So the terreau between the CLTE, which is the Citizen Council towards ecological transition. And we can see that the terreau is open to everybody from the grassroots, and the CLTE is sort of a selection of people by the council. And we were proposing how there might be a relationship between those two, and where the terreau, therefore, network could sit in relation to the municipality. So we were looking at the roles, so civic collaboration in the long term, how can it continue? How does it enable practice and knowledge sharing? And it also has this capacity for national and international connections. So the CLTE has a connection upwards with the Bagneaux residents and local politicians, and the terreau, as you can see at the bottom, has a bit of a different network with professionals and experts, researchers and academics, European networks, and also Bagneaux associations. And finally, just to sort of look at it a little bit more theoretically, we were looking at multi-perspective theory to start to investigate sorry, can you hear me? 16, okay, I'll wrap up. Regime, so the meso-label is what we've been really interested in the middle, with the initiatives being the tiny little dots at the bottom, and the landscape being the more political landscape at the top. And we started to look at that in terms of Bagneaux and in Saint-Denis, and locate our networks or the living labs in them, and start to investigate what roles they might have. And hopefully you can see some of the things that you've been doing, and start to position them in these diagrams also, and start to see how, for example, the mediation might be represented in the arrows. So, for example, PPCM, LAL, and Sourus are part of the terreau, but then terreau, by coming together, like you were saying, Vera, has more power by bringing together multiple smaller initiatives. Similarly, in Saint-Denis, although the Ecolab is a much smaller iteration of that sort of coming together of a network. So these are some of the questions we're looking at, continuing to look at, because research doesn't end, but brings up more questions. So we're looking at what are these dynamics at the meso level in the city, and how can we integrate these resilience principles, so like tight feedback loops, overlap, diversity and modularity. What are the relationships between the structures at this level? What is the importance of the mediation processes and the role of mediator, and who can play these roles? And finally, we're putting together a couple of articles. So one that Doina mentioned earlier about the role of mediators, and another one about the networks of resilience, investigating these two different scales in Bagneaux and Saint-Denis. And because it doesn't ever end, we are organising a École des Jardiniers Planétaires, which is a school of planetary gardeners, which will be in October in Bagneaux. Yeah, exactly. Gilles Clément. Huh? Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Thank you.